episode 1 of Calvin Athletics podcast, The Roundtable, brought to you by Meyer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Timmer. I'm also Director of Athletics. Uh, Throughout the year, we'll have different co-hosts, one tonight. And for most nights, it'll be Ryan Souders, our head men's soccer coach. Jeff Febus, who will join us a little later on, our Director of Sports and Information, will be with us almost every time that we do this. And so before we go any further, I want to welcome Ryan and thank him for being a part of episode 1, season 1. What do you think, Ryan?
Man, Dr. Timmer, great to be here. I feel like in many ways this has been a little bit of a long time coming. We've been talking about this opportunity to kind of talk Calvin athletics, maybe this day in history, bring some alums on, some coaches, some athletes. So to finally be here is really exciting. So excited to be here, and let's get rolling.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I left the office on March 13, did not come back till August 19, and I didn't know what to expect as a Calvin alumnus, as a director of athletics, and it's been quite a 4 or 5 weeks that we've been out working together. And give me some of your initial thoughts as you saw the students come back to campus, as you saw all the work that Calvin put into making it possible.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, March 13th is when I left, came back August 19th. For goodness sakes, we had a daughter in that time period. So add that to the list.
Congratulations again.
Yeah, I think, right? But yeah, it's like it's going to be back. I think there's something about being together. Sometimes I don't know if who I'm together with. The masks make it maybe a little bit more difficult, but it's just going to be back on campus. I think Calvin is a resilient place, certainly in athletics. I think that's something that our Knights have been. And so, I mean, how great, right? I mean, just to see people back together separately. I don't know if that's the term, right? Socially distanced, but whether it's practicing or a couple meetings or in class, even though it's not the same, I think there's been a certain energy. I don't know if you felt that way from an administrative standpoint, kind of what you've seen overhead, but I've certainly felt that way.
Yeah, I think we talked earlier a little bit about, the masks, and the masks are both always a constant reminder that things aren't the same, but it's inspiring that people are willing to do that to protect other people, protect themselves, and keep the campus going. You go through all this in your mind, like how long are we going to be? And we've talked about in the athletic department, or I have at least, kind of this concept of daily bread. I mean, every day, I don't know if we're going to see you guys scrimmage this weekend. I hope we do. But I think you learn not to take anything for granted. And I think that gives a certain energy to what we're doing. I think and take their classes, and they seem to be like maybe valuing it a little bit more. But certainly It's those two things, this idea of really cool that we're together, and really not scary, but it's not the same. And so I'm proud of Calvin so far, August or October 5, and we're still grinding a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fascinating, and this is where I make my foray into the old people's crew. But for a generation, I think of college students that are always, head in phone and technology and all this. I think one of the things, at least I've seen firsthand with our guys, is like they want to play soccer. They want to be together. They want to eat together, right? That kind of old, you think of like neighborhood games growing up and all that kind of stuff. But it's I think it's better, but not great yet. I think great is hopefully just around the corner, but a huge credit to the Calvin community and to our student athletes for grinding it out and doing the best we can.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Before we talk a little bit about sports and the sports world, I do just want to throw a shout out to all the hardworking people at Calvin, from food service to our physical plant. There's a group of contact tracers and people in our health services who came up with a plan, and it's been amazing. I've been able to see a little bit from the inside, and I've tried to relay that to the coaches and the student athletes. It's been phenomenal. Those people, we're going to cheer them on. I can tell you that.
Jay Wise, I don't know
Wise.
If you're listening to this. Big Sparty guy. You're not going to get Phoebes and Timmer to agree with you on Sparty, but like that guy just gets stuff done, and he's running around taking care of students. I mean, our whole student life division is, I think of John Whitty and Sarah Visser, obviously, but Jay Wise, man, like,
Yeah.
I mean, he loves his Spartans and he loves his Knights.
Yeah. Yeah. There's when you see Jay, you smile for sure. Hey, let's talk a little sports here. We can get into Calvin sports a little bit, but as you have seen the sports world unfold in front of our eyes, all the way from professional, from the English Premier League and the cancellation of the Tokyo Olympics to where we are now, give me some of your kind of first thoughts when you think about sports right now.
Yeah, my first thoughts, I mean, you knew this was coming, is like soccer was back first. I mean,
Yeah,
you knew it was going to be the world's game was going to make its first return.
yeah,
But in more seriousness, right? I mean, I think you saw. I listened to podcasts, I listened to sports talk radio, and it's like it was just silent for a while, and
yeah,
you kind of watched it. Unfold bit by bit. And you think of obviously Rudy Gobert and the Jazz and March Madness being canceled. And then just kind of you watch the bricks fall. And then you've slowly watched different sport communities build them back, without fans or in particular bubbles. Or now we're seeing the NFL and Major League Baseball kind of trying to do it their own way. But certainly we need sports. I don't know, as an athletic director, if you're how you're feeling about sports on a global stage. Obviously, as a Michigan football guy, I'm not sure if you want the Big Ten to play football or you don't. Yeah, I'll leave that to you and Phoebes. But certainly, I think we're missing something without sports. I think we've learned that over the past few months.
I think about, I almost start laughing and think about, I was watching virtual NASCAR and getting into it and thinking I need a little bit of sports fix. And I think what we're really looking for there is some normalcy. And I think I have the fortune, I'm the athletic director and I have different duties, but I am able to drive around or walk around at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and see all our athletes out there. And if I shut my eyes and listen, there's some normalcy of the soccer practices and baseball going on. I stopped over at softball, and so I think that makes you feel a little bit normal in what is not a normal time. And for us, and I just want your take on this. Testing, we hear of it all the time, and from a coach's standpoint, and maybe from what some of your student athletes, we're kind of going above and beyond what the NCAA recommended at Calvin for testing. And I think the kids, I don't know if they appreciate it, but they know that we're trying to keep them safe. But I think that's going to be the key to returning to more normal as those tests come down in cost. And I don't think the vaccine is going to get us back to normal as quick as those, hopefully, $1 a day tests. So thoughts on testing in sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at rapid tests and saliva tests. I think being the quickest solution in terms of the technology catching up to the science. We've even seen that in terms of PPE equipment and test availability in our country over the last 7 months. I think what's unique, I don't know the degree to which our student athletes know, but Calvin administration and a huge credit to Dr. Leroy have gone out and have kind of spoken for athletics and said this matters. And so the fact that our athletes are getting tested in the kind of weirdest way possible, I do think that there's like an affinity with that, not going and getting something jammed up your nose. But I think our athletes realize that's something special, right? I don't know that we ever thought we would be like LeBron James in the bubble because of a Q-tip jammed up our nose. But I think something similar, like, hey, athletics matters at Calvin. And I think really our athletes have loved and have cherished the opportunity to be out competing, playing, certainly in pods and things done responsibly. But as I wasn't sure I would say this, but it's in some ways a joy to get tested every week, knowing that because of it, we get to go out and play and compete. And as you have said, have some normalcy. So it's been pretty awesome.
All right. So we're almost done here with our opening segment. And one of the things that I've been waiting to do for years is have this segment with you. And that segment, or the end topic, is what are we doing? There's many times where I go down the hallway and I see you and you either say that to me or I say that to you. And it could be everything from a snow day to our exam schedule to canceling spring breaks or whatever. But right off the top of your head, we've talked a lot about the really cool things about playing, but what moments have you had where you just go, what are we doing? Do you have any of those moments?
I'll tell you what, man, I will, and this may maybe get me in some trouble, but I just feel like since COVID's so new, we're kind of making protocol up as we go. I don't mean we, the athletic department,
Oh,
right? But we'll
for
do things
sure.
that kind of contradict each other, and we don't mean to, and it's with the best intentions. But I'm like, well, if we follow this protocol, it means we're breaking this COVID protocol. And so there's this sense of like some days you're as coaches and athletes, you're trying to work hard and make it good. You're just like, what are we doing? Like, why are we even doing it this way? If I do this, then that means we can't do that. And so again, I know with the best intentions, but I think my week one hashtag COVID, what are we doing segment is just with all the different protocols. And again, not a shot at them, but just because we're making up on the fly, they are tough to follow. And Coach Ottenhoff, who will join us later, she's the recipient of as my wall neighbor many what are we doings, and I think they have to do right now with some of the inconsistencies in some of the protocols that are while well intentioned are being made up every day as we go.
Yeah, the law of unintended consequences, and you just shake your head and you go, "Okay, we'll do it." And I think I just appreciate that coach is doing that. All right, well, we're going to move on to our next segment. Our next segment is going to be brought to you by In on Time. In on Time, matching your requirements and your needs to our fleet and warehouses gives you the flexibility you're looking for in your logistics provider. Unmatched service and reliability makes Fleet Logistics Solution, one of our new sponsors in athletics last year. So the segment we're going to go to is called Flashback with Febus. If you know Jeff Febus, our director of sports information, been with us forever. Jeff can always give you a story. We have tasked him tonight with kind of a big one, but we're only going to limit him to about 4 or 5 minutes, and that was fall 2010. Jeff, what was going on in Calvin athletics?
Well, I was just kind of thinking through a quick stat, and of course, volleyball was making a historic first run to a national championship. In fact, it had been quite a few years since they had made it through the regional round, but it was the second of a streak of 11 straight years where either men's soccer or women's volleyball made it at least to a national semifinal, the NCAA tournament, which is a pretty amazing and gargantuan statistic if you think about it. But yeah, volleyball, really had a kind of a turnaround late in the year to win the thing. Men's soccer was still doing extremely well. Women's soccer was in the NCAA tournament for, I think, the fifth or sixth straight year. Men's soccer hosted a regional, advanced, went to the sectional round, lost in the national quarterfinals. I think you were up there, Jim, in Wisconsin, Oshkosh, when men's soccer bowed out. Yeah, it was very cold, very cold. And of course, cross country was doing extremely well. It was, one of those fall years where you had extended seasons from a sports information standpoint. And yeah, I think volleyball is the one that probably sticks out the most just because it was such a breakthrough. If a lot of people remember, we shared the league title with Hope, then went to Hope for the league tournament. And in the final of the conference tournament, really got beat badly by Hope in 3 straight sets. And that was a very powerful Hope team. They had gone to the national semis the year before and actually had, I believe, the eventual national champ in 2009, Wash U, on the ropes before losing in the semis. And a lot of those players were back with Hope in 2010. So, they really put it to us in the conference tournament. And we kind of had to regroup, pick up the pieces, and had to go down to Wittenberg, which I don't think we had ever beaten them in the regional round. We had to go down to Ohio, very tough place to play, and we upset Ohio in the regional or Wittenberg in Ohio in the regional final in 4, and went down to Wash U, where the national quarter, semis, and finals were at, and beat UMass Boston in 4 sets in the quarterfinals, and then in a crazy 5-set come from behind win over Juniata, where we were down 2-0, and we're losing in the 3rd set. That got us onto the national championship final. And of course, Kelvin has the no play Sunday rule. So we had Sunday off and got a day rest. And I remember driving down on Sunday with my wife. We stayed in Bloomington, Illinois on Sunday evening and then drove down Monday morning for kind of a mid-afternoon national championship final against Emory University there at campus of WashU. And, one of the things I'll never forget is Bert Camp the inimitable Bert Camp, the father of the Camp sisters. And we got there about 2 hours before the match, and Bert was pacing. I think he must have done about 10 laps inside that facility there at Wash U. But boy, he had big smiles on his face afterward when we won the thing in 4. And yeah, the thing I just remember is the energy. First time you win a national championship in any sport, it's just you really can't describe. It's kind of like, we actually did this. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And we had a big crowd of students that came down. They rode a bus that had been put together by, I believe, Jay Wise was part of that group. We were talking about Jay Wise earlier. And yeah, it was a really special time. So
Phoebes, question for you. Would you say 2010, starting in the fall, was maybe the beginning of what you have come to coin as No Sleep November? Is that maybe the initiation of that?
Yeah, I'd actually go back to the year prior,
okay.
Where women's soccer hosted a regional, won it. They went on to the sectional round. Men's soccer made their breakthrough, or its breakthrough, in 2009. I think they were on the road the entire time, but went to the national semis and finals in San Antonio, Texas. And I actually went with a cross-country team to Cleveland, Ohio. Our women's team was very much in the mix to win the whole thing and ended up finishing 3rd. And I remember sitting in a hotel room that Saturday night with my dad, who came along for the ride and watched the men's soccer team win a penalty kick shootout while I was following the women's soccer team. And our guest later, Coach Ottenhoff, was a part of that. And a really tough quarterfinal match against WashU, had a lead, and WashU came from behind to beat us. So that was a lot of stimulation in one Saturday across the country. 2 soccer teams playing to try to advance to the national semifinals, and both of our basketball teams were competing. Swimming and diving was in action. I was a little bit younger back then, but yeah, that was
Haven't aged a day, Phoebes.
Yeah. Well, before we bring in Coach Ottenhoff, one quick story on that, Jeff. I was we were playing at Carnegie Mellon, and I drove from Pittsburgh back to Cleveland. We had the lead with 300 meters to go to win the national championship in women's cross country. We finished, I think, 2nd or 3rd. Got back in my car, drove back to watch us play. Mikey Howard missed the goal or the penalty kick that would have sent us to the Final Four. Ryan Bratt saves it, and a young man with a broken arm who later played for Coach Souders, Chris Nance, sent us to our first national semifinal. So it's been a great decade since then. We got to move on with tonight. Coach Souders and I are going to take a little break, and Jeff, we're going to turn it over to you and bring on our guest, Coach Emily Ottenhoff.
Yeah. Our coach spotlight tonight will be Calvin women's soccer coach Emily Ottenhoff. That interview brought to you by our sponsor, Vredevoog Heating and Cooling. Vredevoog Heating and Cooling has served West Michigan for 54 years. You see their trucks and vehicles all over West Michigan. They are a leading heating and cooling contractor and the best choice for your home. They install quality systems and back them up with guarantees to protect your investment. Contact Vredevoog Heating and Cooling today for a free estimate at www.vredevoog.com. So our guest tonight is Calvin women's soccer coach Emily Ottenhoff. She's in her 3rd year as the head women's soccer coach. No stranger to Calvin, of course. I think technically, Emily can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe she is a 2010 graduate of Calvin. Finished playing sports in the spring semester of 2010. And if I remember, you did a student coaching run and maybe some student teaching in that fall semester of 2010. You helped out our women's soccer program as a student assistant coach. But she was a 2-sport athlete, a point guard on the women's basketball team, and a central midfielder on the women's soccer team. Had all sorts of success. Women's soccer team twice went to the national quarterfinals when she was there. The women's basketball program twice went to the Elite 8 while she was there. She got to be around some of the best athletes that we had in both, soccer and in basketball. I mean, 2 Gostin's Trophy recipients on the basketball side, and Lisa Winkle and Carissa Verkuyk, and on the women's soccer side, a couple of dynamic scorers in Jill Capel and is it Sarah Weeses? Am I getting that right there.
Yep.
Sarah Weesey. I sometimes get her mixed up with the older sister played softball for us. And boy, too many good players to, list all the way on through. But a lot of success. And then Emily went on to get her master's degree as a student assistant, or actually as a graduate assistant coach at Rose Holman Institute of Technology down in Terre Haute. And then later became a lead assistant coach at Stevens Institute of Technology just across the river, I think, from Manhattan, New York City area. And after being there for a number of years with a very successful Stevens program, came back to us in the spring of 2018 and is now our head soccer coach. We're really pleased to have her on. Emily, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be the first inaugural coach guest here. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you remember about being a two-sport athlete? It certainly was demanding. It's not easy. You don't see too many people do the two-sport thing apart from maybe being a distance runner where maybe it's a little bit more manageable to do the cross-country and track thing. But, you went right from one season to the next all 4 years. How did you manage all of that?
Yeah, I get to ask that question a lot actually when I'm recruiting, and I just loved it. I loved being part of two teams. I've always liked being on teams. I like competing, and part of the reason I chose Calvin was because it gave me an opportunity to play both sports at a really high level. So that definitely factored into my decision of coming to Calvin. And honestly, it was even better than I thought it might be when I decided to come. Just didn't know what I was stepping into with the women's soccer program they had been building for a couple of years. And I was, along for the ride my freshman year on a really good season. And then, a really good team my freshman year for basketball. I actually played JV that year because I came in super late and it was hard for me to be able to compete for one of those spots. But, was able to be part of that kind of special program as well. So a lot of challenges and managing schoolwork, but I would not trade that for anything. I loved being part of those teams, and I'm really thankful for that experience.
I know Emily doesn't like to talk a lot about her sporting exploits, but I do want to bring up one iconic goal that she had in the NCAA tournament as a senior. The second round of the NCAA tournament, Wittenberg was playing us, and they were really bunkered in on defense, playing for looked like a penalty kick shootout. And I'm trying to remember if it was a cross, a chip, or what, but you went up high into the air. And we've got a great photograph of you going up and over the defense and heading that ball into the net. It came in the second half, and really goals change games, and that goal changed the game, and you guys beat Wittenberg 1-0. What do you remember about that moment? How did it happen?
I don't think I've ever jumped higher than I did. I don't know what came over me to be able to do that. That was a fun goal to score. Certainly scored a number off my head, and it was off of a corner kick, and it did put us ahead. I remember we had a breakaway in transition later in that game that we missed to really seal the deal. So it definitely held, but it was nerve-wracking there for a bit. But as a senior and having had some seniors as I was a freshman who led us to an Elite Eight, you just want to get out of that round. I remember it was a really beautiful day. It was like 75 in November and really exciting. And obviously had a Carly Prinz the day before, I think had a hat trick. So she made life a lot easier for me in many ways because she put a lot of goals in. So that was really exciting. And we had a heck of a time getting to drive to Augustana and going to upset them afterwards. So disappointed we couldn't go to the Final Four that year with our men's program. It would have been really cool to go together. But that soccer and that sport, you get to compete and you don't get to control the outcome. You give it your best. So that was a really fun experience and something I always look back fondly on.
So after your playing career, how did you decide to pursue the collegiate area of coaching? I mean, you probably could have, gone the high school route, that type of thing, but you decided to go on, get the master's degree and, do some coaching at the collegiate level. How did that all come about?
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, I did have to go an extra semester because of basketball. I wasn't able to student teach during that semester. And it was honestly the spring. So I graduated in the winter and I stuck around in Grand Rapids. I had a long-term substitute job at Holland Christian, was going to be their freshman coach. And I remember sitting at our kitchen table and just like thinking, I don't know if this is what I want to do necessarily, teaching. Not that I don't like that part of it. Obviously, I'm a teacher right now in a different way, but I've always loved being on college campuses. As a student athlete, I dreamed of winning a national championship and competing at that level with kind of like the extra level of commitment that it takes to be a college athlete. And I really like college kids as well. So I think during college, I didn't necessarily realize that could be a career path, but once I made that decision, I realized I kind of had to step into it and really go for it. So, first step was trying to get a master's because I felt like I might have to teach if I was going to get a head coach job somewhere. So, started searching for grad assistantships. My parents said, "We're not paying for that, so go figure it out yourself." We already took care of our side of it. So, found that grad assistantship at Indiana State, and then was also able to be the part-time assistant at Rose-Hulman. And then it just kind of took off from there. I knew once I graduated from there, I'd have to be willing to move, potentially to find my next job. And never thought it would be New Jersey. But again, really thankful for that experience because I grew a ton throughout that time. So that's kind of where my route took me as I decided I wanted to be a college coach.
So I know the time at Stevens was very influential, and then the opportunity to come back to your alma mater was certainly a huge opportunity for you as well. What's it been like to kind of progress through that and to become a head coach, and not only to become a head coach, but to do it at your alma mater, a place that I'm sure is very dear to your heart?
Yeah, well, it makes it a lot easier when you're back at a place that you're already passionate about. My last schools before that, you're trying to, push aside some of those feelings you have for the school you went to because you have, so many memories and so much work put into that place. And certainly was able to find that at Stevens, but yeah, it was a big transition. I remember my mentor, Jeff Parker at Stevens, saying to me, before our first game here at Calvin, when I had taken over, he's like, it's really cool that the place that you chose as a freshman, or as an 18-year-old ended up choosing you back when it became time to be a coach. And that says a lot, that says a lot about you and the type of place or the type of impact you had. And so I'm really thankful for that opportunity, and I don't want to mess that one up for it. I want to really make this really good for Calvin, and I want to help bring our program back to being one of the best in the country where it was when I left. So it's been awesome. It's been awesome to be back and really work through this process. It's been challenging, but nothing good ever comes without some challenges. So really just trying to put my head down and do the work and prove why I was given this opportunity.
Well, you're heading into year 3, and your first 2 years, you made the conference tournament both years, just kind of getting acclimated to some of the players and also going out and recruiting, players that you're searching out for and that type of thing. And I guess I don't want to get into specifics because I know that coaches usually like to try to keep things behind the scenes, but you did have an inter-squad game on Saturday night, which I was able to witness. And I guess in general, I would kind of describe it as a blend of veterans and some newcomers with a lot of excitement and energy. And there just seems to be a real positive vibe going on with your program right now. How would you describe it from your standpoint?
Yeah, right before the scrimmage, I just said, man, we've been sitting. We had a period of months there where we were just sitting in our houses, wishing for something that looked anything like this, just to be able to play. And let's just go have some fun with this. There was definitely some jitters at the beginning of it, even though we were scrimmaging ourselves, just having fans there and kind of having the first time under the lights. I was out reffing and I was like, all right, are we going to calm down yet, guys? And they were kind of laughing as we were starting up. But I just think there's a positive energy. Last season was a challenge and I knew it would be that way, but that doesn't make it any easier. And so I think older ones are really feeling motivated to change that or kind of flip that. We have been working. I think we've been progressing in the right direction despite, a tough record last year. And then, we've got some freshmen who they're chomping at the bit to, they want to play, they want to start, they want to do really well, and they're bought into what we're trying to do, which is make this one of the best places to play soccer in the country. And I don't mean we're going to go beat the national team tomorrow. I just mean that we're trying to do a lot of different things, on and off the field to make this a wonderful experience for our student athletes. And I think that they've really latched onto that, both on the relational side, but also the soccer side. And it was really fun to see some things that we've been working on, over the past 2 years come to light, with adding in some new faces and seeing some of the work, even that some of our sophomores put in. I can see the growth that they've had, and that's a credit to them that they really want to make this good. So looking forward to playing somebody other than ourselves, hopefully maybe in the spring. But right now, just enjoying. We talked today about the Stonecutters Creed, just pounding the rock, and every little blow gets us closer to cracking that open. So we're just excited for another day tomorrow. Hopefully, I feel like I can't get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Today was good. So hopefully tomorrow again.
Well, just the last question I wanted to end on, and you kind of alluded to it a bit, is the MIAA season for men's and women's soccer, volleyball being another, is rescheduled now for the spring. So your thoughts on just re-gearing and refocusing for a spring season of MIAA soccer?
Yeah, I won't lie, it's really weird. I was saying to our team today, like, usually you get a new team each semester, right? Because seniors move on after the fall. I'm like, not this year. We got everybody. So I think it was a challenge for anybody who had played a college season to reframe that in their mind about what that looks like, especially just with the unknowns of, is that going to happen? And so we look forward to it. We're preparing for it. We use each day to prepare to try to perform in that spring season. And, that's ultimately what we're working for. But right now we're just trying to stay in our zone, and see how much better we can get over these next, couple of weeks. Can't compete against any of those teams right now. And, ultimately we just have to focus on what we're doing, because we can't control what the other teams are doing. So we're really, hopeful that can happen, but understand that a lot of things still need to change here for that to be the case. So tough to sometimes buy into that when you don't know what's going to happen, but we're trying to go all in and just take it day by day, and get better tomorrow.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to watching you getting better tomorrow and each and every day. It was a lot of fun to watch you this past Saturday night, and I'm looking forward to watching you guys play again. I want to thank you for stopping by, Coach Ottenhoff. And again, this coach interview has been brought to you by Vredevoog Heating and Cooling. Thanks for stopping by, Emily.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Go Knights.
Go Knights. All right. I think we're going to turn it over to our hosts, Ryan and Jim. They'll take it away from here.
Hey, thanks. And great interview, Jeff. And it's always good to hear from Emily. I can picture her down that Rose home when I was down there for a NCAA basketball game, and she stopped over to cheer on the Knights, and we talked right away about what it might be like when she was ready to come back. And you never know if that opportunity would come. So we're thrilled. And I know Ryan's office is next to hers, and they have a good working relationship. And I think that's super important. So we are now headed to, and I'm going to check back with our producer back there. Is Kasen ready to go, Christian?
All right, it's time we head to our student athlete spotlight, sponsored by Lake Michigan Credit Union. And we are headed all the way to men's golf, actually fresh off the course with junior Kasen Anderson. Kasen, thanks so much for joining us. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. So I guess we'll work it backwards a little bit. Tell me a bit about the match today at Watermark. How'd it go? How do you feel the team went? Give us the lowdown on the results. I mean, we're basically getting you fresh from getting your clubs cleaned. Give us an update.
Yeah. It was pretty windy out there. The guys were able to come through pretty well, 1 through 5, and even the rest of the team that we had out there. So it worked pretty well. We were able to come out with a win, so that was always good at our home course. Good way to kind of battle the elements that we'll see in the spring. So
love that. And who did you guys beat down tonight?
We took down Tryon and Adrian
Love it. So,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. This Saturday, actually, you guys come in. So back-to-back wins, winning at the Trine Invitational this past Saturday. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of the squad and the feelings, even just from the past weekend out in Angola.
Yeah, that was a pretty close one. We only beat them by 1 shot, so it was good to know that our games kind of travel well and we can take someone down at their home course because we'll be able to kind of feed off that, and that's what we'll have to do all spring to give ourselves a chance late in May. So.
Love it. Speaking of traveling well, is it correct that the entire golf team had a coach bus to themselves down to Angola?
Yeah, that is true. We did take a big bus and only 12 of us were on there, so it was pretty empty. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, hashtag COVID positives, I guess, right?
Yep.
That's pretty decent. So, all right, man, take me through a few weeks ago. You knew I was going to ask it. The Olivet Invite.
Yeah.
You finished medalist, 3 under. Take me through your weekend. Take me through the event. Kind of what went well. I mean, were you just feeling it? I mean, when I'm feeling it, it usually means like a double bogue. So, tell me about the Olivet Invite, and I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, it was fun. We got to see that course twice last fall where we played the MIAA Jamboree. So played in a little tougher conditions late in October last year. It was a little cooler. Knew the course, kind of knew what I could do on some of the holes when conditions were a lot nicer as they were a few weekends ago. But yeah, I just started off well. Missed a few putts here and there in the front 9 to go a little lower, but we were able to kind of keep it together on the back 9 and make a few birdies to knock out the bogeys coming in. And just kind of finished strong with Coach Bolt walking along. And yeah, that was a fun event to be a part of. It was close. We almost won as a team too, but we happened to get knocked out just by a few shots.
Man, good for you. A modest young man after a fantastic round. So now I got to ask you all the important questions. What kind of irons do we got in the bag?
Currently playing Mizuno MP5s.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And what are we hitting off the tee?
I got a Titleist D3 917, couple years old. I've had it since high school. So.
All right. Hey, good old faithful, right? Like if she's good, you keep going with it. What are we putting with these days?
I have I had an Odyssey earlier this year, but I just switched to my Scotty Cameron Newport too.
Okay, Scotty Cam. So hang on. Here's the real question: Has the putting improved with the Scotty Cam?
To be honest, I would say technical wise, I'm not the best putter. I'm more of a feel guy. So whatever putter I feel good with, I'll pull out and put in the bag for a few weeks. And it's been the Scotty Cameron this fall, so that's kind of what's worked. But all summer it was the Odyssey, so it kind of just depends.
I like it. You talk about being a feel putter. My co-host, Dr. Timmer, is also a feel guy. But interestingly enough, he never seems to be feeling his putter. He goes to season. So, if you don't like that Odyssey or if you don't like that Scotty Cam, I think we got a guy who might be willing to try it out. So you might be able to work something off air with him. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got some options.
Last question I gotta ask you, and we'll move on. Are you a Minnesota sports guy?
I am, yes.
So are you hoping that the Vikings turn it around, or are you hoping that you continue to be awful in hopes of picking up Trevor Lawrence?
No, I think the last thing we need to do is spend a lot of money on a quarterback. We lost a lot of defensive players last year, so we need to rebuild our defense. Not too worried about the offense. Kirk Cousins will get confidence. It just took down Houston, so that was pretty good. But they'll figure it out sooner or later.
I mean, it was pretty good. They were also 0-3, so I don't really know about that. But we'll have to talk with Coach Bryant. He's a big Vikings fan, and he is on the 1-15 train for Trevor Lawrence. So, last question for you: What are things looking like for you and Calvin Golf now as we're kind of headed into cooler weather? Not sure if there's any plans to get on the TrackMan this winter or what your spring schedule is looking like. Give us kind of an update for Calvin Men's Golf end of 2020 and moving into 2021.
Yeah, so these next few weeks, probably until it snows, honestly, we got a lot of guys that just love to go play golf. And even if we're not in real season, we'll still be doing inter-squad matches for the next couple weeks. We got a big Ryder Cup event planned this coming Friday, actually, out at Watermark for the team. So we'll be doing that sort of where we get kicked off the course. And then as soon as winter hits, it'll be a weight room working on our golf pattern stuff. I'm sure some of you have seen around on our clothing, just working in swing fields and most of them marine. And then once January rolls around, a lot of guys will start using the TrackMan and the indoor facilities. go hit balls at outdoor ranges, and then get ready to work out in February and start playing in March.
Love it. I will kind of my last push here. If any of you in your challenge matches feel you need to really have the stress of having a great shot or really a great round, you're welcome to have me out as a partner. It will both stress you out and put a bunch of pressure on you to hit a good shot. So again, man, Case, congrats on just such a great fall for you and for the Knights. We'll look forward to seeing you guys spring of 2021 even stronger. And just thanks again so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's, again, Kasen Anderson of Calvin Men's Golf in our Student Athlete Spotlight, sponsored by Lake Michigan Credit Union. With that, I'm going to hand it back to the always putter changing Dr. Jim Timmer.
Thanks, Ryan. I am on my third putter in the last 6 months. But this one's it. I am staying with this one.
I've heard that before.
I can't. Well, if I change, I just can't tell my wife. I've spent my allotted money on putters. So, hey, I appreciate it. That great interview with Kasen. And they have a team that like a lot of teams, they just want a chance. They want a chance to compete. And I think this fall, Trine's the team that won it last year, and we beat them twice the last 2 times out. And of course, you never know what the team in Holland, who's been a juggernaut in men's golf, has coming in. But I hope that they get a chance to compete, because they have a good squad and they have a little depth. They were able to overcome Sam Holland's 80 today, who's been playing well. But even with that, they shot 300 today. So that was a real good group. Well, you know what? We're coming to the end of our inaugural roundtable. I want to thank our co-hosts, Ryan Souders and Jeff Febus, for their great job on their interviews. And we're going to get better at this. I enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody will enjoy it watching it, but we'll figure that out as we go along. I want to thank Christian Timmer back at the studio, so to speak, and for his efforts in getting everybody on today. And I want to thank our guests and our sponsors. And any closing thoughts by Jeff or Ryan before we kind of tease the next episode?
Jim, before I hand it off to Jeff, the only thing I can think of is like at the end of PTI when Mike and Tony are like, we'll try and do better the next time. So thanks to those of you that tuned in. We'll revamp it. We'll make it good. Always looking for ideas and requests. But man, an honor and privilege to be a part of it. Certainly a lot of fun, and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I just had a nice little chuckle. Ryan will appreciate this. I think Jim will too. Ryan and I are big Arsenal FC soccer fans.
There we go.
The English Premier League. In fact, Ryan's got his 2006 Arsenal kit on right now, the away jersey, and it's quite iconic there. So today was transfer deadline day in Europe, and Arsenal ended up having one of the biggest signings of the summer in Thomas Partey. Partey.
Yeah,
of course,
we're
play on words.
It's
time to partay is kind of the play on words. So Thomas Partey is from Ghana, and our good friend David Dadsey, who was a track and field standout. In fact, he held the national record in the javelin. I don't know if he still does or not, but that was about 3-4 years ago. He's, I think, living in North Carolina now. He's an engineer, successful student athlete at Calvin, a real success story. And David and I used to talk a little English Premier League soccer. David's a very big Manchester United fan, as are a lot of our cohorts, as Ryan might attest. And I ended up sending him a little note saying, hey, my friend David, it's still you have time to jump on the Arsenal party bandwagon right now, using the play on words. And he said, never, Manchester United all the way. So, hey, he's true to his club. We're true to our club, even through its ups and downs, which there have been many. But, hey, it's fun to connect with your friends sometimes, even from afar, and Knight Nation is strong.
Well, hey, again, thank you. So we're going to try to do this once a week. We'll figure it out as when we put it out online on YouTube. But, next week we'll probably have another coach on. I know we'll have another coach on, and we're going to alternate between a student athlete spotlight and maybe an alumni spotlight. So next show, we're looking for an alumni from one of our proud athletic programs, and hopefully we'll still be competing and practicing athletics. You never know in this COVID era. So we'll hope we have a lot to talk about. And again, thank you to everyone. And we will be signing off tonight. Good night.